News.
For years, Don Imus had been firing his satirical zingers at politicians and journalists from the safety of his radio program.
Tom Dansel is one of the scummier weasels in Congress, by the way. What a weasel.
But on March 21st, 1996, Imus was summoned to Ground Zero, to Washington, D.C. itself, to fire away at the nation's media elite and President Clinton and the First Lady in person. The occasion was the annual radio and TV correspondents' dinner.
I'm really glad Don Imus came to Washington. You know, all politicians pander to Don Imus because real people listen to him. He actually takes credit for getting me elected in 1992. He might have done it. But what I want to know is, what has he done for me lately?
The all-in-good-fun spirit continued, even as Imus opened with a joke about the Whitewater papers that had been subpoenaed.
Let me see if I can see what it says. S. McDougal called again, says bank needs check-in statement, told her both were in mail, ha, ha, ha. Jesus, she looks stupid in those tank tops.
So far, so good. But not long after, he made fun of a comment the president made during a baseball game broadcast.
The president was at Camden Yards doing play-by-play on the radio with John Miller. Bobby Bonilla hit a double, and we all heard the president, in his obvious excitement, holler, "Go, baby!" And I remember commenting at the time, I bet that's not the first time he said that. Remember the AstroTurf and the pickup?
The president and the first lady were not amused, and Imus knew it.
He had the option of laughing or not laughing. He chose not to laugh and glared at me as if to say, "I'd like to shoot you, you son of a bitch." But I thought, you want to play hardball? Fine. Here we go. Here we go. Fasten your seatbelt.
Imagine if back in 1978, Mrs. Clinton had not said to Mr. Clinton, "Honey, Jim and Susan are here, and they've got some riverfront land for these great vacation homes, and maybe we can make some serious money."
The next day, the media fired back at Imus, attacking him for being tasteless.
They didn't invite him to stand up there and sing the national anthem. The press brought him down to make these kinds of jokes, and then they sort of professed the horror that he did.
What did they think he was going to do? I mean, it's a short line. It's a thin line between calling him Bubba and everything else he did to his face when he was on the air and what he did there. It was the vernacular that President Clinton, unfortunately, invites.
What he said to the Clintons was really much milder than what he says every day on his radio show. But there was something about sitting in there, that black tie audience with all these prominent journalists, the president and first lady sitting right there, that gave it a lot more sting.
Some pundits predicted the speech would be the downfall of Imus. But less than a month after Imus zinged the president, another 10 stations signed up to carry Imus in the morning. And in the fall of 1996, MSNBC took the program into cable TV and cyberspace. By then, Imus could attract guests practically no one else could, like John F. Kennedy Jr.
I mean, people made fun of you for not passing the bar. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
John Kennedy is here.
By 1997, Time magazine was calling Imus one of the most influential people in America. For millions of listeners each day, he was the arbiter of what's hot and what's not. One of the biggest beneficiaries of Imus's influence was none other than his brother, Fred. For years, Fred ran an auto restoration shop. One day, brother Don offered T-shirts to his listeners with Fred's logo on it. There were so many requests that Fred started a mail-order clothing and food business that has made him a wealthy man in his own right.
Being the brother of somebody rich and famous, hey, I was a brother of somebody poor, and I like this a whole lot better.
Don and Fred remained as close as they were as kids. They shared the same favorite hobby, photography, and the same favorite subject, the place where they grew up, the Southwest. For all his attitude, Imus also has a soft side. using his influence and power to raise millions of dollars for research in childhood cancer and blood diseases. And in 1998, he took his commitment to children in need even further with the creation of the Imus Ranch, an idea inspired by memories of his own childhood and of being a kid in the West.
And I thought, wouldn't it be great if you could take these kids, and these kids with cancer, by the way, they want to just be treated like regular children. And wouldn't it be great if they could have the same sort of experience that we had growing up on that ranch?
His interest in children got even more personal as he prepared to become a father again at the age of 57. And when Frederick Wyatt Imus was born in July of 1998, his arrival was greeted with all the sentiment listeners have come to expect from Imus in the Morning.
He's being breastfed, and man, that's something. I like that.
Is that a good deal?
That's a great deal.
No kidding. Put in your coffee?
Because his mother's got some very nice-looking titties.
No.
For better or worse, Don Imus gave the world the shock jock, the outrageous on-air personality, the guy who says what everybody else secretly thinks, but would never dare to say out loud.
You sometimes get the impression that because Imus has been through so much, drugs, alcohol, being fired from jobs, that he's beyond any sense of danger, that he can say whatever he wants and feels that he can get away with it.
With Imus, there's no restraining impulse. So he appeals to a lot of people who wish they could let the beast run free.
He's a genius in the sense that he is able to entertain us, to interest us, even fascinate us with the trials and tribulations of one, D. Imus.
You can see how he's living. You can see how his life affects him. People like that. That's why they feel that he's their friend, which is a very important element of radio.
He was meant for the radio, and I think he's going to be on the radio and be a sensation on the radio as long as he's behind a microphone.
Even when he tries to do good works, Don Imus can't seem to avoid controversy. In order to build his camp for sick children in New Mexico, he demolished some buildings that were designated as historical landmarks. He agreed to reimburse the state and promised it wouldn't happen again. And then just last month, Imus reacted to some technical glitches on his morning show by throwing a tantrum, screaming at his staff, and temporarily storming off the air. No, Don Imus is not mellowing with age. Tomorrow, the woman who made Can We Talk her personal trademark. Joan Rivers was a casualty of America's talk show wars, and then stormed back with her unique stand-up as a Broadway headliner